I want to go down a different route here for this next topic because you're somebody who, in my opinion, has like a million sponsors. Um, with Street Fighter 6 being so big and obviously Tekken 8 coming out and all these new fighting games, we always see the increase of sponsorships of players and whatnot. But a lot of people don't know the realities of sponsorships. And I kind of wanted to go into that for a little bit and talk about what it's actually like to be a pro gamer because a lot of people, especially on Twitter, think that they know and think that we have this like
we have a
lifestyle,
good.
but yeah, but they don't know like how insanely difficult it is. So, this one's a two-parter here where I said the amount of money you can make, typically the 1% of, fighting game players are asking for maybe $500 to $1,000 a month, which is literally nothing. And unless you land some sort of Evo or Capcom Cup win, um, if you're a professional player, I mean, you're talking about players that for context, like the NBA players, imagine NBA players that are in the 1% of playing basketball are asking for $500 or $1,000 a month. From personal experience, Justin, I mean, you've known me for a long time. I've had a lot of
Yeah.
sponsors, and, and a lot of them put me through a lot of hell. And I don't want to go into details about which sponsor did this or which sponsor did that. But what I do want to say is this is a very typical story for a professional fighting game player. You either have the sponsor tell you that they're going to pay you and then they don't end up paying you. And now you don't have income. You're not sure what to do. You're added a lot of stress. You have to win the tournament. You try to book a hotel through the sponsor and then they either book it really late
Yeah.
or they give you a crappy flight
Yeah.
because they didn't do their part of it. The most notorious one is, oh, we're no longer a sponsor and there's nothing you can do about it because you're young, you don't have the type of money to hire a lawyer. And what contract? Oh, what are you talking about? You signed a contract? I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. That thing don't exist, bro. You're tripping. And I've dealt with that for a very long time. And from sponsors that people wouldn't think would do something like that, I'll just say that, I had a lot of my dreams crushed at one point in my life and made me realize that, man, I kind of need to get a job at this point because what I thought in my head was the pinnacle of sponsorships ended up being one of my worst nightmares and the biggest lesson that I learned from God. So if you can give your perspective of this whole professional player lifestyle, and man, we deserve so much more for how good we are, but it just it's not the
Yeah,
reality
it's
of it.
it's it's tough. I mean, like so I was first sponsored by EG, right? Evil Geniuses in 2010, right? And even
Yeah,
then, like if you do research during then, like if you're trying to like pick up the number one fighting game player, and I was young, right? And I never been sponsored before. So to me, like someone come up to me and says, "Hey man, we want to pay for your flight, hotel, give you a salary per month, and all you gotta do is wear our jersey and just don't don't do dumb stuff online. You're good,
right.
right?" In my head, I'm like, "Oh, word, like that's amazing." And coming from a person who was broke growing up, I thought like, "Oh, this is my chance." And they offered. I only got 1,000 a month during that time, and to me, I thought that was the best thing in the world, right? Because it's like I'm
Yeah,
finally there. So I didn't know that there was this whole like other esports teams. They get like so much more, like 10,000, 5,000, or whatever crazy amount, like millions, right? Possibly depending on
yeah,
what game you play. So for me, 1,000 a month, and then going to all the tournaments. In my head, I'm like, yeah, I don't have to pay for tournaments, hotels anymore, so I would always be in the money, right?
yeah, yeah,
So eventually, the more like the better the sponsors are. Like Evil Genius was like really credible, and they kept me for like so many years. So they kept increasing like my pay. But talking to a lot of other people and talking to like sometimes shady orgs and everything like that, they would promise the world to you,
oh,
and
oh
clearly,
yeah,
clearly, clearly, it wouldn't be like that. It's just really hard because like you know you're in that same position that I was. Like, oh my god, really? You want to sponsor me? You want to give me money to wear a shirt? Like, it's always gonna be like in your head, like rainbows and flowers, right? There's
Man, I
nothing,
thought I could
right? There,
help my family,
right?
you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. There's nothing where you're like thinking like, oh, is this legit? Is this shady? You're thinking like, oh man, I finally made it. Mom and dad, we finally here,
Yep.
right? That type of thing.
100%.
So
100%, man.
it's just really tough because like even now, I think like a lot of times people don't know how to negotiate for themselves, or they want like so much more. And I think, yeah, I mean, we're really skilled players and everything like that. Fighting games, if you're really good at fighting games, it's like such a big skill. But the problem is, I think a lot of times, like let's say the investors for the team, they're the ones that's going to be like, yeah, we don't get it. What's the number? What's the ROI, right? Return on investment.
Yeah.
And what's their social numbers? It doesn't even matter how good you are. Think about it, right? Like you have, let's see, you have the number one, the Evo champ, right? Angry Bird. Let's see, what's his numbers? Angry Bird for his Twitter. Um, the number one fighting game player for Street Fighter 6, right? One, at least one of them, it's either him or Mena,
Right.
right? And he only has 23,000 followers. Imagine that, right? And how many people were watching Capcom, like Evo and everything like that, all the tournaments he's done. Like he has done so much, and he's such a great player. I remember playing him, and I realized he's so good, right? Mena has 43,000, right, followers. Right, we had over probably millions of people watching this tournament. Millions of people have seen like these two players play in particular. But their
Yes.
numbers are just not that big, right? And
Yeah.
because of that, the
Yeah.
investors looking into it, they're going to look at it and be like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe we can offer like 2,000 a month, blah blah blah." But I'm sure Bandits and Nasser, they're taking them very well. But let's say if they were like free agents, right?
Yeah.
They would not get offered what they deserved because they're going to look at the numbers, the statistics, and not based off like the passion and all the training they do. That's just the reality of it. It sucks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kind of realized that, and that's kind of why like I started to like really push like my socials, and everything like that, because it really did help me in the long run, with getting on like new teams like Echo Fox and gaining like individual sponsorships. Because after Echo Fox, I was like, you know what, I don't want to be on team anymore. I want to get all these sponsorships on my own.
Yeah.
And from there, that means so I don't have so because like the sponsors are giving the team money, and then that money goes to the team plus the player, but it's a percentage of that, right? A little, like probably a low percentage of that. So why don't I talk directly to the brand and get the full bulk of myself,
Right.
right? So
Right. Right.
me increasing my social numbers, and and Sherry, she's really good at making like those like one pagers of like, or like a deck
Oh
for
yeah,
that
she
stuff.
made my player deck
Yeah,
as
she's
well.
really
Yeah.
good at that. So I use that deck to like fish for sponsors, and because of that deck, I was able to get a lot, and like like have good relationships with, because like I was able to work with them, do like one offs, or they signed for a year, and so it just sucks that like in order for you to like get good at fighting games or like practice, you still have to play this other field of like being this like content creator, or putting up your social numbers and putting more content out there instead of just like practicing and mastering your craft. It's just so hard
Yeah.
that way,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, think about how much better all of us would have been if, you know, we were able to make a living off of just playing.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, like look at NBA players and football players and whatnot. Like we are in the same category in terms of being in that 1%, but we're not getting anywhere near what they're getting. And you know, the reality of life is you do need money
Yeah,
to
you do.
survive. You what you put your time into. So, you know, when you're putting your time into something that's not giving you income, it becomes very difficult to persuade your family and or a significant other that
It's
like,
tough,
hey,
yeah.
you know, it's gonna hit one day, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna hit one day.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So then,
and
yeah, that's
considering how you can get throw loop to death, like I don't know, bro. Like
yeah.
it's just it's been a very difficult journey, and I'm grateful for Capcom and all these companies that have invested money into the community, and obviously it's a growing thing. It's just I'm curious as to where it'll be in 20 years and the types of sponsorships the new guys will have. But you know, my time is running out as well, and I'm just kind of, you know, it is what it is at this point. I'm glad that I had the experiences that I did because it shaped the type of man that I became. But
Yeah, I agree. One
you
thousand
learn a lot
percent.
about life. You know, Justin, you learn a lot about life. And me personally, I've talked about this before. It helped me mature as a man, and it actually brought me a lot closer to God through my experiences because they were just sometimes you go through a lot of evil experiences with some of these organizations, and you just have to, you know, shake it off and come back swinging. So
No,
I just wanted to have that
it's
conversation with
yeah,
you.
it's
Sorry
tough.
to interrupt.
No, yeah, it's definitely tough, and it's really hard. But like I always tell people, like if they have like a specific deal or on the table, like they can always DM me and I'll read the contract or I'll give them suggestions on like what you should ask for. Like, there's times that you ask me to look over
Oh
and blah
yeah,
blah blah, and I'm like,
100%.
and I was like, hey, yeah, like this looks all right, but you could probably get more, ask for more, so why not, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the one thing that I always tell people is like, yeah, if you want to ask me to help give you suggestions, and there's lots of players that have DM me about it, like literally the players that are doing good now or stuff like that, they have DM me about it, and I gave them my suggestions and it worked out. So I'm always trying to like give the picture, and sometimes I can understand like why they that's the starting price, because literally that's like their starting
yeah,
price is always going to be like it's going to be in their favor. It's like 6-4 in their favor, right? So you obviously
yeah.
want to try to be 6-4 in your favor, or at least minimum 5.5. So if you can get the negotiations into 6-4 your favor, that's a huge win. But the even ground personally would be a 5.5 to 4.5 in your favor for sure.
Right, right. Because you want to make, you know, the amount of time that you're putting in it. It's not easy to put in the time to get good at this. And I guess we'll end off on this topic with if there are players, especially younger players, or even, you know, the guys that are just starting to pursue this
Yep.
dream of being a professional player, like what kind of advice do you have for them? Because it seems like the advice here is get on the content route and do something with that. But you know what I always say is, it ain't the grass isn't green on this side, bro. Like it ain't, you know.
It's not. I would say for people starting out now, you have to think about like what are teams like interested in right now. They're always interested in numbers. So when you look at these esports teams now, a lot of them are creating their own like content channel, or like kind of like it helps their social, it helps like the actual social channel a lot.
Yeah,
Like if you look at, let's say, like FlyQuest, they do a lot of stuff with their players, right? And that's because of their content team. So they're pushing really hard on content now because that's what really gets numbers. There's not many tournaments, and think of it as like, let's say you enter CEO Common Breaker and you're sponsored by like FlyQuest or whatever, and you just had a bad day. Let's say you just had a bad day,
yeah,
you get smoked in pools like this, like
it
yeah,
happens.
like a random number 360 master player just smoked you and you didn't know, right? And now you're out the tournament or you never got on stream. Like to them, that's like a huge loss, right? They pay for the flight, hotel, give you salary, and they didn't get their name, like their little like like fly, right? Their name on the stream one time, none at all. So you have to do more now because that's kind of what people kind of gauge. The more numbers you have in terms of all socials, like you can just add them all together, the more appealing you will look to these investors, because most of the time they like these investors, they're old. They're not gonna know, oh yeah, I've been following his tournament run for years. Like I know what place he got in 2018, 2019, leading up to 2024. Like, no, they're
You're
not
right.
gonna have that information whatsoever. They're gonna look at like, okay, what's his current social numbers on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube in 2024 of February the 4th today, right? That's literally
Yes,
what they're gonna
yes,
look at, and that's it. They're not gonna look at your past results. They're not gonna look at like your last match that you had in the tournament environment. They don't care about any of that.
Right.
So in terms of that, like for new aspiring players, you have to really think, right? Think about like, I get it. It's hard like to spend your own money and everything like that, but I mean, we did it, right? You did it. You
Of
spent your own money
course.
during
Of
Street Fighter
course.
4 era. I spent my own money to travel all these tournaments before Street Fighter 4 era. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you have to put your money as an investment to go to these events to actually get noticed. You can't just like play online and be like, yeah, I'm so good. Look at my rank. They're not gonna care about that. You have to actually use your own time, your own money, and to go out to these tournaments to try to perform as well as you would normally do, like when you're home, and then more people would like talk about you on socials and then kind of get your name out there. Like Frosty Frostings just happened, right? And like
Ramsey.
Punk did win Frosty Frostings against Duke Kevin, great grand finals. But the person that really stood out that bracket was Ramsey, the Zangief player.
Correct.
And
Mm-hmm.
he was from losers, and he was cooking, and everybody was Zangief, right? When you think about Zangief, you only think about Snake Eyes. But now
Yeah.
Ramsey, like he has such a miraculous run. Now some people are talking about him, right, with what he just did. Even Brian F made
Mm-hmm.
a video about like, the Zangief was ruining the brackets at Frosty Frostings, right? So
Yeah.
he got recognition because of that. So you gotta really put yourself out there for the time and investment. And if you can, you know, make some cool content, have some cool conversations on Twitter. It's like you're doing this podcast, right? You're doing this podcast, having this new outlet for people to come watch in and grow your brand as well. And
Of
that's
course.
literally what you should be doing. It's like I know you just want to play and become the best and let your actions speak louder type of thing with gameplay, and I understand that completely. But we are in this era where it's just so competitive with content that everyone's doing it, and it just looks more appealing from the content to grab somebody that can just, it's like a jack of all trades that could do content
Yeah.
plus play. That's like the perfect blend that anybody would want right now.
Yeah. Oh, and I think a lot of what you said as well, something that you felt, something that I felt is you do this, you do the investment in yourself if you believe in yourself. That's my biggest thing that I've learned from this as well is if you don't believe in yourself, then why should anybody else believe in you?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that you can do it. So if you got that, then you could sacrifice some of that to invest in yourself.
Hmm.
And speaking about investing, sponsorships, and money, recently you just announced on Twitter that you're having an online reality show, and the winner is going to get $10,000. We'll end it with this topic. I'm actually very curious about this.
Yeah.
For those of the people that don't know, can you go into a little bit of detail about this? Because when I saw that, and I'm like, oh, bro, I'm about to sign up. And then you put up and comers, and I was like, well, fuck that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
go ahead, give us some information on that, because I know that is a huge opportunity for somebody to put their name on the map. You're literally providing an outlet for that.
Yeah, it's a show called Next Up. And yeah, I think I see like how many, how like we came from an era of all these online tournaments, um, and because of the pandemic and everything, and I felt like
Hmm.
so many people have gotten better in fighting games these last few years because we didn't have to travel. We just stay home and grind and play online tournaments, right? Or just play online sessions and everything like that. So a lot of
Yeah,
people have gotten so much better in just across the field of every game possible, right? Street Fighter 6, Strive, Tekken, whatever, you name it. And it really
right.
does show. So now you have all these amazing players that make these top eights that I never even heard of when I'm commentating it or when I'm like watching the stream. And these are players that probably would love an opportunity to to be sponsored, to get flown out to offline events and try to do their best, right? But the problem is we are in a recession where a lot of people are either not being picked up, being dropped. Even tech companies are like laying off employees. So money's
Yeah,
tight for everybody, right? So I don't,
yeah,
in my head, I felt like I don't think we're gonna see a lot of players being picked up by like esports teams or whatever compared to like the boom of Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5. So many people got picked up
yeah,
during Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5. It was insane.
Yeah, it was,
Yeah,
man. Especially in Street Fighter
right.
Five.
But in six though, I really don't think that's the case. Like, so
Yeah.
I want
I mean, I won Street Fighter League and not a single DM.
right. It
So
sucks. And
that's
yeah, yeah, you guys killed it too, man. It was such a great stream to watch. Like to watch the finals there. Um,
yeah,
and it just sucks because it's like so many players uh have these like amazing skills and they want to get picked up, right? But now let's say you're an esports team and you're looking in to see, okay, who's available. They're not going to pick the up and comers. They're going to look for whoever is available that has a like a brand name, like a household name, right?
hmm
In the whole scene. So it just kind of sucks because there's, like I said, there's just so many great players now, and not everyone's gonna get picked up. Not everyone's gonna be able to showcase their skills or have a chance to pursue this pro FGC career for a while. So that's why I want to do the show next up, because I want to give one person a chance. Get they win $10,000, they get 3 trips to like 3 NA events. So like let's say CEO, Evo, or First Attack, because we are in the era where like this is a new generation. Like I probably don't really care about playing competitively anymore. You
yeah.
mentioned that, yeah, some eventually your time is going to be up, right?
It's
And
very soon,
right, and
very
then
very
now we
soon,
have
actually.
like you, right? We have players like Punk and Do and Sonic Fox. They're getting older, so
yeah,
now we have to look forward to the next younger generation, right? So
yeah,
so that's kind of what it's really for, is to kind of showcase like, like I want to do something for the community that I've been part of since like for over 24 years. It's kind of crazy, right?
yeah,
I've been in the scene that most people has been born, but these kids, they're so good at fighting games now, right? They're so good at fighting games now, or understand how to play fighting games because of the resource they have online. I just want to just showcase of that. So that's kind of why I made the show next up, see how it does. And I mean, I don't think I'll make a profit from this. It's completely a loss on my end, but it's more of just
hmm
like I want to give back, right? And I don't expect any return from the winner. Like I don't expect them to like give me a percentage of their winnings or whatever. I
hmm
just want them to have fun. This is the FTC. This is the FGC. Do what you want, and try to perform
and
your best at these major tournaments, right?
yeah, and you're providing them, I think, with the confidence of, hey, you know what? Like, I just won some big money off of this tournament.
Yep.
I can invest myself into this, and sometimes you need a push to believe in yourself, whether that's a tournament win, like it was for me, or from somebody close to you believing in you, giving you that confidence. So this is just an amazing opportunity for those up and coming players, and I'm excited to see the show, man. I'm This is going to be super dope for the community, and I have no doubt that it's going to grow, and you will make some profit of it eventually.
I mean,
If
I
not
don't
on
care
the
about
first
I don't care
season.
about the profit. It's literally like I just like to
Well, no, I know
do
you don't. Yeah, I
I
know
just
you
like to
don't,
do some
because
cool stuff, like because that's just because now my obsession is doing like fighting game content and trying to get
oh
more
yeah,
people like involved in fighting games, or because I watch a lot of YouTube videos for research, like, and this is outside of FGC, like different like even like people playing ping pong, or people like doing
okay,
like man on the street challenges with like silly stuff, and I'm watching, or like different podcasts. I'm watching this stuff and I'm like, it's entertaining, but I'm thinking of like, oh, how could this translate to FGC, right? So
yeah,
that's how I get these, like a lot of these different ideas when I do like kind of more IRL stuff instead of just like let's play stuff. So that's kind of
yeah.
what I've been focusing on a lot. And it's just been fun having these crazy ideas in my head and trying to perform them in real life.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's very easy for me to believe that you don't care about the profit of it, because there's a lot of people in this community. I've met a lot of shady people within the community, and there aren't many people that are very genuine, and you are definitely one of the most genuine people that I have met. And you've always been good to me, man. You've always helped me out, and I'm grateful for that, because you made my experience that much better from being in this community. So